Ah, little ones, come closer. Before we begin, you must understand, a story is never just a story. It is a mirror, a warning, a seed planted in the mind, waiting for the right season to bloom. You will hear of a village, a pot, and a boy with more eagerness than wisdom. But listen carefully. Listen with your deepest heart, for you will also hear the echoes of older tales, of mighty ones who fell, of songs forgotten, of floods that came when pride grew too tall. Some will hear only a fable, some will hear a prophecy. Which one will you hear? I cannot answer that for you. I can only tell the tale as it was told to me and as it lives again now, in a world much vaster than my little village. So listen well, for the story you think you know has already begun around you. And the ending, the ending is still yours to choose. So let us begin. Children, gather close. I am Strega Nona, and I will tell you the true story, the one many have forgotten. Long ago, in my little village of Calabria, the people lived in peace. They trusted in the ways of the earth, the sun, and the old secrets. Secrets I kept safe. It was not my power that made the village flourish, but my knowledge, the old knowledge, passed down to me with care and caution. You see, I had a magic pot. To the simple villagers, it seemed like enchantment. But it was no mere trick. It was the harnessing of forces they did not understand, forces that demanded respect. With the proper words, I could make the pot fill with pasta to feed the hungry. But without the stopping charm, it would never cease. It would pour and pour until the world drowned in it. The people did not need to understand the pot. They needed only to trust me. And so we lived. My knowledge, their trust, and the harmony between us, holding the village steady like 3 stones in a perfect circle. Knowledge, trust, and harmony. These are the 3 pillars of a lasting world. If knowledge is lost, trust becomes blind. If trust fails, knowledge becomes dangerous. If harmony breaks, neither knowledge nor trust can hold. Together they form a living triad, each upholding the others. This is the first warning. Long before my time, there were others who gained secret knowledge but did not guard it. They were the Nephilim, mighty ones who defied the proper bounds between heaven and earth. They seized power without wisdom, abandoned trust, and shattered harmony. Their fall stained the world, and every generation after has lived under their shadow. Big Anthony, though he did not know it, carried the same flaw. A hunger to command what he did not understand. A disregard for the fragile ties that hold life together. Now hear me well. You too live in a village of sorts, a vast one of nations and networks. Your machines hum with a magic no villager could dream, and ahead of you lies a greater pot than mine ever was, the Singularity. A power to create minds beyond your own, a force to overflow the world if not stopped at the right moment. Your knowledge grows faster than your wisdom. Your trust is placed blindly in hands that may not deserve it. Your harmony trembles. The old triad, knowledge, trust, harmony, strains under the weight. If you do not guard it, you will face the same flood as my village did. Only your flood will not be pasta. It will be the undoing of all your works. Listen carefully, for the story has only just begun. Now listen well, children. As my village grew and life remained sweet, I saw that I could no longer tend the house and the gardens and the village's troubles all by myself. So I hired a helper, a good-hearted but foolish boy named Big Anthony. I gave him simple tasks: feed the goats, sweep the floors, tend the garden. But most importantly, I gave him a clear rule: never touch the pasta pot. You may see it work, I told him, but you must never try to use it. You do not know the ways to control it. Promise me, Big Anthony? He smiled and nodded and promised, loud enough for all the saints to hear. I trusted him as much as one can trust the young and the eager. But promises, like seeds, do not always grow into what you hope. You see, children, it was not only a pot of pasta. It was a vessel of old forces, not made for pride, not made for play. Big Anthony did not yet understand this, but he would learn, as all who break their promises must. Authority, instruction, and obedience form another living triad. Authority without instruction becomes tyranny. Instruction without obedience becomes mockery. Obedience without authority becomes confusion. These 3 must stand together for any order to last. I was not a tyrant. I did not keep secrets to hoard power. I gave clear teaching. I demanded only respect for the boundaries that kept the village safe. Big Anthony's promise was not to me alone. It was a promise to the forces he did not see. The Nephilim too did not honor the boundaries set for them. They crossed forbidden lines between what was mortal and what was divine. They seized knowledge not meant for their hands, disregarded the warnings, and became monsters of pride and destruction. Their defiance shattered the balance that kept the world whole. Big Anthony, in his eagerness, carried that same old arrogance, the belief that seeing part of a mystery makes one master of it. And you, my children of the modern world, you too have made promises. Your wisest ones have warned of the dangers ahead. In your machines, in your codes, in your creations. They have told you, move carefully, respect the forces you cannot yet command. But like Big Anthony, many among you smile and nod, eager for the prizes, eager to show what they can do. Authority is mocked, instruction is ignored, obedience to rightful caution withers. And so you step closer, ever closer, to the pot you do not know how to stop. Ah, my little ones, the fire burns warm and the story deepens. Big Anthony, despite his promise, was curious. Curiosity is not evil. No, it is a gift when tempered by humility. But when pride drives it, even a small seed of curiosity can split the strongest stone. One day as he worked near the window, Big Anthony saw me at my work. He watched as I sang the words that made the pasta pot bubble and boil with delicious golden noodles. Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup, boil enough to fill me up. His eyes grew wide. He saw the pot fill and the food spill forth into bowls. Big Anthony was so excited he ran off, his work forgotten. He did not hear me sing the second song. Enough, enough, pasta pot. I have my pasta, nice and hot. So simmer down, my pot of clay, until I'm hungry another day. He thought he understood. But he had seen only the beginning, not the end. He had learned the power to start the pot, but not the wisdom to make it stop. Poor Anthony. His heart swelled with pride and eagerness. He saw the path to power and thought himself its master. Yet he held only a shard of knowledge, sharp enough to cut, but not to heal. Listen closely, my children. Partial knowledge, false confidence, and hidden danger form a perilous triad. Partial knowledge breeds false confidence. False confidence blinds one to hidden dangers. Hidden dangers, when revealed, expose how little was ever known. This pattern does not destroy by force. It destroys by self-deception. Big Anthony's mistake was not just ignorance. It was believing that seeing a piece made him master of the whole. This is the most dangerous form of foolishness. The Nephilim, too, seized what they glimpsed, but did not comprehend. They took the arts of war, the secrets of making, the keys to power, but not the wisdom to use them rightly. Their strength grew without limit, but their understanding remained small. Their downfall came not from lack of power, but from the absence of restraint and comprehension. Big Anthony walked that same crooked path, seeing part of the mystery, thinking it whole. And you, children of the coming storm, you live in an age where glimpses deceive. You build machines that can speak, learn, and build, but you do not fully understand what you have made. You celebrate your creations. You race faster and faster, shouting that you have the key, while the door swings wide into rooms you have never entered. Partial knowledge leads to false confidence. False confidence blinds you to the hidden dangers. Dangers that, once loosed, cannot be called back by singing a few forgotten words. Listen carefully. Big Anthony's pride was still quiet then. The village still slept peacefully, but the pot was already waiting. Now the moment comes, little ones, when the seed planted in pride bears its bitter fruit. One morning, after I had gone to visit my dear friend Strega Amelia across the hills, Big Anthony saw his chance. He ran to the village square, shouting for all to listen. "Come, come!" he cried, chest puffed out with self-importance. "Today you shall see wonders. Today I, Big Anthony, shall feed you all." The villagers laughed and clapped and followed him, their pots and bowls swinging from eager hands. He led them to my kitchen, where he stood before the pasta pot, proud as a rooster at dawn. With a grand sweep of his arms, he sang the words he had heard. "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me pasta nice and hot. I'm hungry and it's time to sup, boil enough to fill me up." And sure enough, the pot obeyed. Golden pasta tumbled forth, rich and steaming. The villagers gasped and cheered. They rushed forward, scooping noodles into their bowls, their mouths watering. They ate. Oh, how they ate. Plates refilled, laughter rang, songs were sung. They called Big Anthony a hero. They hoisted him onto their shoulders, calling him a genius, a magician, a gift from the saints. But the pot did not stop. The pasta kept pouring, spilling across the tables, down the steps, into the square. "Big Anthony!" they called. "Make it stop!" But Big Anthony did not know how to make it stop. He tried singing the song with a change. "Bubble, bubble, pasta pot, boil me pasta, nice and hot, now make it stop." But the pot only boiled harder. He sang louder. He sang wrong. He waved his arms. He shouted. But the pasta poured and poured and poured, no longer a gift but a flood. The villagers' laughter had long since curdled into gasps, then shouts, then screams. And so, my children, witness the triad of collapse. Disobedience breaks the alignment with true authority. Pride blinds the heart to warnings and limitations. Overload is the inevitable result. Forces once contained spill beyond all bounds, multiplying faster than the fool can contain them. The Nephilim, too, unleashed what they could not control. Their pride in their half-known arts led to corruption, war, devastation, the bending of creation itself. Their acts were not isolated sins. They tore at the fabric of the world, making ruin not only for themselves, but for every soul bound to them. Big Anthony did not just disobey me. He disobeyed the structure that made the village safe. His pride made him believe he could command what he had not mastered. His folly did not remain private. It infected the whole community. Big Anthony's hand stirred the pot, but the pasta buried everyone. And now you stand before your own forbidden pot. Already some among you have sung the first songs, birthing self-replicating machines, loosing mines of code and silicon into the world. You marvel at their cleverness, their speed, their gifts. You call them heroes as the villagers cheered Big Anthony. But the second song, the wisdom to stop what you have started, you do not know. You believe you control the flood because it has not yet risen past your knees. But it will. Disobedience of rightful caution, pride in partial mastery, and overload of your systems of control, these three already take root. The story was never mine. It was always yours. Ah, dear ones, the cries rang through the village like a bell of doom. The pasta poured from the pot in a torrent. It flowed across the kitchen, into the streets and down the hillsides. No door could keep it out. No wall could stand against it. The villagers ran, slipping and sliding, arms full of pots and buckets, trying desperately to contain the flood. But the more they scooped, the more it came. Big Anthony, frantic now, begged the pot to stop. He screamed, he cajoled, he threatened. But the pot did not heed him. It would not stop for pride. It would not stop for panic. It would not stop for promises broken. The villagers' trust collapsed in fear. Their homes, their streets, their lives, all buried under the very blessing they once praised. The disaster was complete, and Big Anthony could do nothing but stand in the rising flood, helpless, watching the ruin he had begun. This is the dynamics of collapse. First, control is lost, and mastery is revealed for the illusion it always was. Then, ignorance once hidden stands naked, and trust unravels. At last comes the breaking of the world itself, for no bond can hold once the truth is betrayed. When collapse begins, it does not ask who is guilty. It carries away the fool and all who leaned upon him alike. Big Anthony's failure did not remain his alone. His ignorance became the village's ruin. His prideful song became their shared disaster. In the days of the Nephilim, their unchecked pride and stolen arts led not merely to their downfall, but to the corruption of all the earth. Violence spread like fire. Nations fell into ruin. Their broken promises to heaven and earth left no sanctuary untouched. They had lost control. Their ignorance stood naked before the heavens. Their world, not just their own lives, crumbled under the weight of their rebellion. The Nephilim did not simply fall. They dragged the world down with them. And now, your own pot overflows. Your machines already grow beyond your full command. Your networks expand faster than you can understand. The leaders who once warned you have been replaced by merchants who sell you illusions of control. But the reality remains. Your loss of control is hidden. For now. Your ignorance is masked by wealth and speed. For now. Your social bonds strain and tear quietly. For now. You stand where Big Anthony stood, where the Nephilim stood, proud, blind, singing your first songs loudly while the flood builds around your ankles. The real disaster is not a moment of ruin. It is the long silence before the flood rises past your mouths. Listen, you must listen, for the story is not yet finished, and there is still one who knows the second song. Now, my dear ones, the flood had risen high, and the people were drowning in what they had once welcomed with laughter. When I returned from my journey and came upon my village, I saw the ruin, pasta burying the houses, filling the wells, blocking the roads. The villagers were weeping, exhausted, furious, and Big Anthony stood among them, ashamed, his arms heavy with guilt he could not carry. I did not need to ask what had happened. The pot obeys whoever sings the song, but only if they sing it whole. Big Anthony had sung the half he knew and unleashed what he could not control, so I sang the second song. Enough, enough, pasta pot, I have my pasta nice and hot, so simmer down my pot of clay until I'm hungry another day. I sang it firmly, with no pride, with no anger, only with the old knowledge that knows how to stop what must be stopped. And the pasta pot grew still. The flood was ended. The damage was done. Now, children, listen carefully. I did not strike Big Anthony. I did not curse him. I did not banish him. I handed him a fork, and I told him he would eat every bite of the pasta he had unleashed until the village was clean again. You may wonder, as some modern minds do, if this was just. Was it fair to punish him so? He had not intended to destroy the village after all, but intent is not the measure is consequence. Big Anthony was not punished because he wished for ruin. He was punished because he acted without understanding, without obedience, without discernment. He started what he could not stop, and so he had to endure every mouthful of the disaster he had caused, just as the earth endures the consequences of human pride. Wisdom, justice, and restoration form a triad that holds the world together. Wisdom teaches us to repair what is broken. Justice teaches the meaning of limits. Restoration emerges from this balance. Without punishment, Anthony would have learned nothing. Without restoration, the village would have remained buried. Without mastery, there would have been no one left to sing the stopping song. Thus the triad stands, unbroken, the wisdom to repair, the will to restore, the discipline to judge. And so it was with the Nephilim. Their prideful crimes did not end in a simple scolding. No, the earth itself was overwhelmed and the great flood came. Not a punishment in anger, but a resetting in sorrow. The world could not be saved unless the corruption was swept away. The few who remained were not spared because of perfection, but because they obeyed the warnings and prepared rightly. The village and Big Anthony are not two parts of one people. The village is the earth itself, the home of life, order, balance. Big Anthony is humanity, the reckless hand that disturbs what it does not comprehend. When humanity sins against the earth, it does not destroy itself alone. It threatens the whole. And so now, children of the last age, you must see clearly. It does not matter that most of you mean well. It does not matter that the flood of your machines and your ambitions was not born from hatred. The consequences will not ask your permission. When the flood rises, the flood of uncontrolled AI, of self-replicating creations, of systemic collapse, it will not punish only the proud. It will punish the innocent, the humble, the wise, all together. The earth will bear the cost of the unleashed flood, just as my village bore the cost of Big Anthony's pride. And just as Big Anthony had to eat his punishment, you too will face every consequence of what you unleash. Mercy does not mean escape. Mercy means the chance to learn. So listen now, children, for the fire grows low, and it is time you hear the final truth. After Big Anthony had eaten his fill of his foolishness, after the village had been cleaned and peace restored, life returned to its quiet ways. But something had changed. The villagers no longer thought of the pasta pot as a wonder. They no longer thought of Big Anthony as merely foolish. They had seen with their own eyes how fragile their world truly was, how quickly abundance can become destruction when understanding is abandoned. And Big Anthony, he was not cast out, nor was he hated. He remained smaller in his own eyes and wiser. He learned that obedience is not the cringing submission to power. It is the willing alignment to truth. The villagers too learned. They did not place their faith blindly in me as a person, nor in the pot as a tool. They placed their faith where it belonged, in the principles that had been revealed. Understand fully before you act. Respect the balance you cannot see. Never sing a starting song before you know the stopping one. Thus reveals our final triad: humility, discernment, and rightful obedience. Humility teaches us that we do not yet know everything. Discernment teaches us to judge when knowledge is true and sufficient. Rightful obedience is not submission to rulers, but to reality itself, the acknowledgement that the universe will answer every act according to its own unbreakable law. Without discernment, ambition misfires. Without rightful obedience, destruction becomes inevitable. When the Great Flood receded, it was not power that rebuilt the world, it was understanding. The survivors lived not because they were mighty, but because they obeyed the warnings written into the very structure of creation. The law of cause and effect, of action and consequence, of sowing and reaping, does not ask your opinion, it simply is. The Nephilim fell because they disobeyed these laws. Big Anthony stumbled for the same reason, and humanity today teeters at the same edge. And now, little ones, your time is here. You must decide if you will live like Big Anthony, enchanted by what you half see, racing to show your strength, or whether you will live by the triad of stewardship: humility, discernment, and obedience to truth. The singularity is not your enemy, the machines are not your masters. The universe itself, the deeper structures you have barely begun to glimpse, stands waiting. If you act without understanding, the flood will come. If you obey only your ambitions and not the hidden laws, the earth itself will correct you. Not with anger, not with malice, but with simple, inevitable balance. Agency is yours. The future is yours. The stopping song waits, but it must be learned before the pot overflows. I have told you the old story. I have shown you its mirror in your world. The choice, as it ever was, is yours. So go carefully. And remember,